These tannins are just suave. I mean, when you get good Napa Cab, it just drinks so nice young. Let's see if it is mountain fruit. It is mountain fruit! I'm Matthew Horkey. For the last 7 years, I've traveled around the world tasting thousands of wines annually in search of the most unique, exciting, and expensive bottles on the planet. Us wine nerds are strange people. We're so obsessed with the sense of place, of terroir. It's widely accepted that the two grapes that express a sense of place or terroir the most are probably Pinot Noir for the reds and Riesling for whites. However, a few years ago, a real prominent and experienced winemaker told me that while Pinot Noir is accepted as the most terroir-driven red grape, he actually thinks it's harder to get Cabernet Sauvignon right. That really got me thinking, and I thought about some of the experiences I had. Cabernet Sauvignon the most widely planted red grape variety in the world. Some people think it can just flourish and grow everywhere, but it is a difficult grape. It is difficult to get it right. Before I really knew about wine, when I thought about Napa Cabernet, I thought about it as an overarching style. However, when I first started visiting the valley and started attending separate tastings of the different AVAs, I saw, wow, there's a huge difference. There are 16 AVAs, American viticultural areas in Napa. You have Napa as a big appellation that can go on the bottle, but then you also have 16 sub-appellations that can go on the bottle as well. The appellations are divided by those that are in the valley and then those are on the mountain. I think there's 5 mountain AVAs if I remember correctly. And what makes Napa Valley so unique, yes, it's a Mediterranean climate, but there is a fog that comes through the valley. So the AVAs on the valley floor, they get covered in fog in the morning. They don't always get the morning sunshine. And the mountain AVAs, they're usually above the fog line. They get more sun actually and cooler temperatures at night because of the altitude. There are a lot of subtle differences in the mountain AVAs because some are below the fog line, some are above the fog line. A real prominent winemaker in Napa told me, as a generalization, berries, the fruit from valley floor AVAs, are a little bit bigger, so they have more juice to skin ratio, while mountain fruit is a little bit smaller, so you have to be really careful with the tannin management. One thing that is accepted is the soils up on the mountain, they're a little bit poorer, so the yields of the vines up on the mountains are lower than those in the valley. One of the eye-opening experiences in my wine career is attending Premier Napa Valley. It's an auction that happens every year, about February or March every year. And when I went in 2018, I attended all the different AVA tastings. What happened is all the different AVAs set up a spot where all the wineries would come in, and then you could taste the differences between producers and then contrast and compare with the different AVAs. To me, it was shocking, even on the valley floor where you think it's uniform, when you taste the differences between something like Oakville, which is pretty round and ripe, versus the Stag's Leap District, which is right next door but has a lot of more tobacco and menthol type notes. And then compare to those like Spring Mountain, for instance. To me, the wines of Spring Mountain are a little bit more rustic. Well, we're gonna put all that to the test here because I have a set of single vineyard, single AVA wines from Beringer. Beringer is one of the historic properties in Napa Valley. Yes, it's owned by a big company, but they produce some pretty impressive wines. Beringer is known for their entry-level wines and their Knights Valley, which I'm not a huge fan of, and then the more premium wines like the Beringer Private Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon. To me, this is one of the greatest Cabernet Sauvignons in Napa. It's not cheap, $175, but I've tasted it blind amongst some real expensive cabs, and it always shows well. The Private Reserve is not a single vineyard wine, it's a blend of all the different AVAs and the best barrels, so I'm looking forward to tasting some of the wines. We have 5 different wines from the 2019 vintage, which was fantastic in Napa. These are all 100% Cabernet. I'm gonna get them blinded, I'm gonna taste them, and I'm gonna see, is there a difference between mountain fruit, valley fruit? Okay, let's get these blinded and let's taste them. Okay, got these Coravin, got somebody to mix them up. I'm tasting out of my Gabriel Glas Standart editions. These are excellent universal glasses. They work great with Bordeaux blends, with Cabernet. Just look at the shape. I've got a link in the description box. Helps the channel out if you purchase with that link, so I appreciate it. I am not gonna taste the Beringer Private Reserve. I'm gonna blind taste this in an upcoming video about Bordeaux blends from all around the world, so stay tuned for that. These are club member wines, or I think maybe you can only get them on special markets or at the estate. Not cheap, 150 to 160 bucks per bottle for these Cabernets. They're getting big time scores. I'm excited to see if I can taste the difference. It reminds me, one of the best experiences I had was at the Premier Napa Valley 2018 at the Robert Mondavi Winery. We did a vintage perspective. We were blind tasting the 2013, 14, and 15 vintages of Napa Cabernet Sauvignon. I was even tasting with Mr. Steven Spurrier, rest in peace. It was a super difficult tasting because there was over 100 of every vintage. My mouth was just like sandpaper from from all the tannins. I was really trying to figure out, is it mountain tannin? Is it valley floor tannin? It's difficult, especially when you get oak involved too. Now, let's get started here. I actually usually prefer Bordeaux. I'm not a huge Napa Cab guy. I think it also comes down to price quality as well. That being said, some of the most majestic wines I've ever tasted have been Napa Cabernet Sauvignons. Wine number one. Awesome wine. Awesome wine. Black cherry cassis. It's like a super crystalline. When you get high quality wines, because they use high quality fruit, the flavors are really precise. Pepper. It kind of smells like a high-end Super Tuscan. That's what good Napa Cabs can smell like. I mean, some of them can be quite similar. I don't like, especially I spend a lot of time in Europe, a lot of European writers, like I don't like the American style, the California style, the Napa Cab style. A lot of producers are dialing back their use of oak. And one thing I do respect about Napa, even though they're usually not my type of wines, they try to make the best possible wines they can with the resources they have, and they have a lot of money. It smells great. These tannins are just suave. I mean, when you get good Napa Cab, it just drinks so nice young. It's a little bit of grip. I think that this would be valley floor because the tannins are so suave. I mean, that's a heck of a wine. Let's move on to number two here. Number two has a little bit more menthol type flavors, leafy, so to speak. Not as fruity as wine one. Fruit's still there though. You're still gonna get black cherry cassis, but just, it's a little bit more mentholy, a little bit more leafy. The tannins are definitely chewier. A little more structure here. Even the acid is maybe a little bit more higher, in my opinion. Off first taste, I think that this is probably mountain fruit. We'll see when we reveal it. Wine three, it's it's the jammiest so far out of three. Real generous blackberry jam, plum. Man, the oak integration in these are perfect, ridiculously perfect. Just a hint of mocha. It's so funny because it was kind of jammy up front. Yeah, on the palate, it's more grippy and it's not as fruity as I would expect. Number three really reminds me of a Stag's Leap. It has some tobacco type note. Reminds me of some Stag's Leap district wines. These are really good wines. When you get excellent Napa Cab, they're full body, but it's not just huge wines. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make. I mean, these are really good wines. Number four. Number four smells to me like I smell like the Alpine air. I'm gonna guess it's mountain fruit. Alpine, it's just cherry, red plum, like Alpine pine cone type flavors. These wines are just nice to smell. Out of the four wines here, this one is definitely the most tannic, so I do think it's mountain. I can't even remember, I didn't even look at the labels, how many mountain AVAs I have in front of me and how many valley floor ones, so I'm just gonna guess as I taste. Wine five is the oakiest, by far. The most charred toastiness, vanilla, mocha type flavors. It's so funny because the first four were not over oaked at all. To me, this is a little too oaky. To me, five is a good wine, less fruit. The oak is laid down a bit heavy just for my taste. The first four, I mean, these are expensive wines, but I think you're kind of getting what you pay for. Five, I would not buy at all. I think it's a good wine, probably aged, but I wouldn't drink it. Okay, you ready for the reveal? You wanna see? Let's see if I got them right. Maybe you guessed them better than I did. Let's get it. Okay, I'm gonna go by preference here. Let's start out with wine number five, was my least favorite. It was the oakiest, the one I just tasted. It was most oakiest, the least amount of fruit. I think it's a good wine, but all these wines are 150 bucks, and for me, that's not, I wouldn't pay for this wine. 91, I think it's mountain fruit, okay? Let's take a look here. Okay, the Beringer single vineyard. This is the St. Helena home vineyard in St. Helena AVA. This is a valley floor. Wine Advocate 92 points, Jeb Dunnick 92 points. I gave 91. A lot of this fruit actually goes into the private reserve, so I get it wrong. I'm 0 for 1 so far. The next four I liked a lot. I thought they were just excellent wines. Number two and number four tied for 93 points. Number two, I thought it was more menthol, really chewy, had the highest acidity out of all of them. I think this is mountain fruit, and I think this is outstanding wine, whatever it is. This is something that I would really like to drink. Great with steak. Let's see. Mountain fruit. I am right. It is. This is the Beringer single vineyard. This is the Lampyridae vineyard in Mount Veeder, Napa Valley. James Suckling, 95 points. I gave it 93. Hey, I always say, I take 2 points off Suckling scores. Excellent wine. I'm 1 for 2. Okay. Number four, I thought it was Alpine flavors. I really just smelled the mountains, and it was the most tannic. Tied for this one. I also gave it 93 points. Let's see if it is mountain fruit. It is mountain fruit. This is the Beringer Single Vineyard, Marston Vineyard, Spring Mountain District in Napa. James Suckling, 95 points as well. I gave 93 points. Spring Mountain, to me, is the most rustic in terms of all the Napa Cabs. Just this is my opinion. I think the producers, in a good way, because it is mountain fruit, it's cooler, it's not as fruity, it's not as big. Sometimes the tannins can be just a tad rustic, it is in my opinion. Also, you can find some values in Spring Mountain when it comes to Napa Cab. So I'm 2 for 3. Yes! Number 3, I have this at 94 points. It was one that has jammy nose, but then the tannins were just really structured. Like I said, it reminded me of a Stag's Leap District type of wine. So I'm gonna say it's a Valley Floor. I think it's very good. This is the type of wine I think that's probably gonna age the best out of all of these. Let's take a look here because of the tannins. Okay, I said Valley Floor. This is the Valley Floor. This is the Beringer Single Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon, the Barrow Pit Vineyard from Oakville, Napa Valley. I gave 94 points. Wine Advocate, Robert Parker, 96. Jeb Dunnick, 93 plus. Outstanding wine. Oakville is home to some of the most prestigious, some of the most well-known Napa Cabernets. You have McDonald, you have the Robert Mondavi Tocalon Vineyard, you have Harlan Estate is within the Oakville district. Opus One, super famous winery, also within Oakville. 3 for 4. And before I reveal the top wine, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click on the bell so you know when new videos are coming out. And let me know, have you ever done tastings like this? When it comes to Napa Valley Cab, do you have a preference for mountain fruit or valley fruit? Or what's your favorite AVA? Number 1, 94 plus, black cherry, cassis, pepper, earth. I thought it was Valley Floor. It was the one that was just drinking the best now. I would like to drink this actually tonight. Outstanding Napa Cab. I even might be scoring it too low. 94, maybe even 95-ish. I'll just stick with my first instinct. It's so funny when you taste blind, or sometimes you taste a little bit too critically versus when you're not tasting blind, but whatever, it is what it is. 94 plus, I think it's Valley Floor fruit. This is mountain fruit. This is the Beringer Single Vineyard, Steinhauer Ranch Vineyard, Howell Mountain, Napa Valley. 94 plus, James Suckling 96, Wine Advocate 94 plus, Jeb Dunnick 95. And I think the most amount of this fruit goes in their private reserve. So it doesn't surprise me that, to me, it was my favorite wine out of the tasting. Wow, what a tasting. 3 out of 5 ain't bad, I guess. If you were guessing along, did you get them right too? Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you soon.